Hi guys, welcome back. Now I will disappear later, I promise. But you might remember I anticipated during my chat with Franz that also internally in Academy we have somebody among our coaches who is doing much better than us. And one of these is here with me today, and you might know him because of the coaching calls or some other mailing things like that. Pierluigi Tozzi, Pierre. Welcome, Pierre.
Hi, hi. Welcome, everybody.
Pierre, as many other partners in the academy, was a brilliant student of Unger Academy and became later a coach. And since then, he also entered the R&D team. What is special about Pierre? Special is that he grasps whatever he comes across with, any idea, anything, and he goes and, after studying it in depth, puts it live in the markets. And what's worse for me, best for him, he also makes profit. I'm just kidding, of course. But Pierre, what you do normally, right?
Yeah. Maybe I probably have a higher than average risk appetite, so I like to try everything I think is good. So sometimes it go well, sometimes not, but it's like I like to trade and to make things.
In fact, we will see that you traded one of the ideas that I presented during last live summit in Padua in 2024. And you immediately went home and started trading it with success. We will see it now in the data we'll be showing so shortly. And also being part of the R&D team, of course, you get many ideas. We talk about, we investigate about, and most often you go back and you trade them after more in-depth analysis. You trade them live just to see if it really works. But I want to show you something about what I mentioned, which is the performance of Pierre. And if we just refer to 2025, we can see that actually you not only were able to beat me, but also to beat France, because with 48.82%, you did better than also France. And you also got only a 10%, 10.22% drawdown. So it was a great year for you, Pierre, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a very good result. And I was also a little bit lucky in December because I stopped my trading system because I was in a holiday the weekend when I had to make the calculation for the December. I decided to not start the systems, and at the end, that was a good choice because December was not so good at the and it allowed me to beat also France in the final total result. So
There is no competition internally, but of course we always discuss about our performance, and yeah, you were lucky because I was hit by the gold systems, as I mentioned in our previous contribution. It was not a good month for those systems which were heavily present in the mix. So you were lucky, but you are not only trading systems, because I see in the top performance and in the bottom performance the SPX options. So you also started trading our OPT program. I know that, of course, but you can confirm.
yes, exactly. In 2025, I started both OPT formula.
But not only, as I mentioned before, during our live summit in Padova in October 2024, I presented an approach on stocks, on options on stocks. And after the presentation, Pierre went back home and started doing it. And here we can see you provided us with your explosion of the different performances. So we see futures, options, this is in Italian, but you understand option is options. And then on the right, just talking about options, the split of the different programs you followed and some tests you will be talking about right now.
Yes. As you can see, along the different option approaches, the stock put sell was the best performer in 2025 for me. And this was an approach that I already know before the summit in 2024, but once I saw your presentation, I decided to start do it systematically, and it was a surprise also for me how it can perform, because probably 2025 has been a good year for this kind of approach, but at the end I realized more than I expected. So it was a good.
Yeah, I see. And I see also some tests here, which are probably the ideas we are discussing about during our R&D meetings.
Yes, exactly. All the tests we can see here are the different approaches that usually we try, and I like to try directly live. So I reported here also the result. As you can see, there are also some losses, but it's part of the game. So
Yeah, two losses, test three and test four. Test four a bit heavier than test three, but okay.
yeah.
But in any case, I mean, this is 2025. I mentioned before that you were a student, then you joined the Unger Academy. And if I remember well, or at least if I look at the next slide where we see your cumulative return since inception of the Interactive Brokers account, you started trading after joining the one-year target program, and you started trading live in February 2021. And the results are astonishing because 263% during different type of years is certainly a great achievement with only 11.91% drawdown. So, Pierre, can you tell us about something
Yeah.
about this?
Yes, for sure. The one-year target program, it was a turning point for me as a trader, because before I had not so good results, more losses than the gain. So after one-year target, I found my dimension with trading system, and I start having solid, robust results during the years. And as I said, in 2025, I also added the option strategies with the OPT formula. At the end, I'm very proud of these results, because
You have to, of course.
I've never had so good results for a long period before, so it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a mix of knowledge we provide and one-year target and all the algo trader fast and the OPT, and also of the possibility to get some ideas we discuss about. Now, some ideas you got at Padova, so those ideas were open to all the participants, and this will happen again in April 2026. So I imagine you are ready to join us there and to get something, because not everything is discussed in the R&D meeting, so you will certainly get something. And that something will also be for capitals which are more limited than the ones you traded. We didn't show obviously numbers here because of privacy reasons, but I know you are not trading with an extremely small amount of money, but in Padova I will show something that will also be possible with small amounts. And so I'm sure you will get back and start right in May in trading that. But it's interesting how constant you were in getting this. And we see here some other details about the performance. On the left, the same results we just showed. On the right, the results on a yearly basis. We can see this a little bigger. The numbers on the left are those with the benchmarks included. And benchmark you chose. SPX is fine, but EWDA is something you added on your personal choice, I imagine. On the right, we see on a yearly basis, and we got about 30%, which is a great result. I think it's the number I normally mention for those who are really good in doing this, and you are really good.
Yes, it's a very good results. Also because my target was 15%, so 30 is for sure the double.
And it makes a huge difference because this is composite growth, and you see, obviously, it's something 5 years more or less.
Yeah.
It's not 150, which is 30 multiplied by 5, but it's 263 because you capitalize the returns. And as I mentioned, I asked what performance is realistic. And I always said that a really good trader with systematic approach and so blah, 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 can aim at a 30%, 35 in some extreme cases, so you have a new target now. And but I mean, a really good one. I'm happy to know that really good trader is inside the Unger Academy and is here with us today, Pierre. So, Pierre, what can we add?
I think now I'm just waiting for the new summit in order to
For
find
sure.
new to improve this result because I have to put my target higher at this point.
I know you were a researcher also previously to your
Yeah,
start in the Unger Academy. So obviously you love investigating ideas and whatever. But the difference, in my opinion, is between you and a common researcher that you also put in practice the implementation, which normally pure researchers don't do because they love researching, but they stop at the result. They don't put the result live. What you, on the contrary, do very well, and you are much more disciplined than many of us. I am a disaster in that, for example. I also experiment, but I do it randomly, while you are very clean in doing it. I know that, and the results are clear.
yeah, I like to put in practice more than study theory because it's something I have in my way of doing things. So sometimes it can go wrong, but I can see immediately if it works or not. So it's something that I like to do.
That's important, and I wish I had many students like you among our students in Unger Academy. I'm sure we have many. I'm sure we will meet them in Padova, so they also will challenge the new ideas getting back home right after. And well, I mean, I expect you to make
Sure.
some more money with your experiments.
I hope.
And I hope no longer see any test three and test four with losses, which is nearly possible, but okay, we hope so. And so we have a target internally to beat Pierre and Pierre to get whatever he gets to put it live in the markets.
Let's see this 2026. We will meet in Padua and we will see how
Yeah,
it goes.
we meet virtually across Zoom, Telegram, and all our means, but we will meet in person in Padua. So I'm happy to meet you personally there. And anybody watching this can also meet Pierre in Padua in April 2026 at our Unger Summit Live. That's it, guys. Great job, Pierre, and see you next time.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Ciao, everybody.